Welcome to the podcast where passion and purpose collide. We are on a mission to interview women and the occasional token man about how their passion and purpose have collided to create healthy relationships and profitable businesses. I'm Elizabeth Denham here with Rebecca Monet. We are the co-founders of the Coterie for Women and co-publishers of the Franchise Woman magazine. So Rebecca, how is your week so far?
It's like a blur. It's like one day just leads into another day. I'm guessing everybody's feeling the same way, especially with everything that's going on in the world. But I swear, I fall asleep, I wake up, and the night was only like 2 minutes long.
I know. I have felt like for all week, I have not had enough hours in the week.
It's crazy.
It's making, how can it be Wednesday already? I haven't gotten stuff done.
Yes, it's Wednesday. It's hump day, happy hour day.
Hump day, happy hour day. Everybody needs to show up. If you're a woman at 5 o'clock, go to our Facebook page. You can join.
Yeah, which reminds me, if we're going to get there, we better get on with this.
Absolutely. So tell us your rose and thorn.
So my rose. So I'm exhausted, remodeling, building a business, you and I, but whatever, right? We're just busy.
Right.
And today I had the most delightful call from one of my franchisors who is like a light at the end of the tunnel. And every conversation I have with him takes me back to the purpose, the reason we're doing what we are doing. I think it's very easy to get caught up in the minutia and the day-to-day and the spreadsheets and all of that kind of stuff. But every time I talk to Jeffrey Polino, he brings me back to what's the mission, what's the purpose, what's God's given gifts that you have gotten, and how are you using it, and where's the future. And it just energizes me. There's such a blessing in having friends like that and colleagues like that in your life that say, there's a reason you're putting all this energy out, and embrace it. This is a beautiful thing that we're creating.
I love that. And that is what energizes you. When we had that really amazing open house hump day happy hour at the end, between Christmas and New Year's, that energized me for days.
Yeah.
Because I felt like everyone had fun. We're building the community that we want. When we have our happy hours that are just women, same thing. We're developing these bonds and these relationships and accountability groups and things that people are looking forward to it.
Yes.
And that makes me happy. So I love your rose.
So even though there's so much to do behind the scenes and decisions to make and things to check off of our list, when we see these relationships being forged and people learning and people growing and people expressing themselves, there's great joy in all of that.
Yep, that's an excellent rose.
So to my thorn,
yes,
I missed the trash man.
Oh no.
This week. And as you know, I'm remodeling my house, so which means I have a whole lot of debris stuff to do.
It's like missing him the week after Christmas. It's bad.
Don't want to do that. This is bad. This is a bad thing. And so it's Monday, right? Which means you put everything out on Sunday. I don't have a husband.
Right.
I don't even have a house boy, right? That or house somebody that can help me take out the trash. So I get up on Monday and I'm thinking, no, I didn't just miss the trash man. And I'm online thinking it's Martin Luther King Day.
Right.
Maybe by a stroke of luck, they're not working on Martin Luther King Day and it'll be the next day. But no,
it works.
I guess the trash pickups continue on even through that holiday. So that's my thorn. So
that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. Oh my goodness. What about you, girl? Your rose, your thorn.
My rose is today's inauguration day. This will air after. And I think my rose just has to be, regardless of, we are a nonpartisan platform. We accept all points of view and encourage them. But for all women, when the first has reached a new level, it's an exciting day. So we have our first woman of color elected to the second highest office in the land. And I remember when I was doing disability work and Obama was elected, I had a client who was a Black man, and I just said, "So what do you think?" Just in passing. And he's like, "Now my grandchildren think they can.
Yeah.
There's no limit or boundary. And little girls all over the world who are young will never grow up not knowing a woman in that kind of office." And I think sometimes that gets missed in the politics of it all.
Yeah, it's
It
true.
is a glass ceiling that has been shattered today. And regardless of what you think or who you voted for, she is the vice president. And that is a historic thing. So I think as women, we should be proud of some of the strong women leaders that are coming along, and be embracing across the board, unity for all.
Yeah.
But I think it's something worth acknowledging, no matter who you voted for.
Agreed. Agreed. So it's amazing. It reminds me of the story of the 4-minute mile. Doctors thought no human could run a 4-minute mile. And then I don't remember what year it was, but one man went under a 4-minute mile. And after that, man after man after man began to do it, simply because that paradigm had shifted. And that's what
Right.
you're talking
Yeah.
about. The belief system, the paradigm has shifted. And now young women can say, not only can I be an astronaut, but I could be a vice president.
Exactly. I mean, you've got to have that first, and it breaks the barrier. And I'm excited for that to be broken, for my daughters to grow up knowing that women can participate in any level of government. But my thorn seems so silly after that. But I did my walk this afternoon, and it was 68 degrees or 70 degrees, and I sweated in January. And I was just kind of bummed. I'm like, it has been so beautiful and a little crisp and cool. Like in Alabama, we don't get cool weather very often. We sweat 9 to 10 months out of the year at least.
Oh,
And so when we have these nice little periods in January where it's sunny and it's like 50 to 60 and you can walk, and it's such a thing. And I went out today and it was cool yesterday, and I go out today and I'm like, dadgummit, it's not hot, but it's not cool. And I actually broke a little bit of a sweat, and I was disappointed.
Okay, I got to stop you. You said dadgummit.
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 I love it. I love it. That's an Alabama thing, right? Or Southern?
It's a Southern thing for sure. And there was this guy in our Sunday school class whose name was Autry, and his son was named Autry Jr. And he thought dadgummit was dad gummit. And so he would go around saying, Autry gummit.
Autry gummit.
Autry gummit, because that was his dad. I was like, that. We have been laughing about that for years, that this poor little boy was like, Autry gummit.
That's cute. Oh my goodness.
One of my favorite stories, totally an aside, but yes, it's
I don't know how I got there, but I just had to point out this dadgummit, because it's not every host of a podcast that has such massive vocabulary, right?
Right? I mean, naked and dadgummit.
Naked? I love naked. That one's a good one too.
I don't have much of a Southern accent, but every now and then those colloquialisms.
Words that just sneak in. I love it.
Alrighty then. Well, on that note, this dadgum podcast is ready to move on to the interview. So stay tuned.
All right.
And we will see you next week for Roses and Thorns. Welcome back to the podcast where passion and purpose collide. Today we are here with mother-daughter team, Lindsey Bianco and Lisa Bianco. They each own a Fred Astaire dance studio in Arizona. Lisa's is one of the largest in the country. Lindsey grew up working in her mother's studio and then recently purchased her own, but they still act as a team, supporting each other and helping each other's success. So welcome to the show, Lindsey and Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Great. We're so excited to have you. And I know we had you in this issue, the January issue of the Franchise Woman. So we've talked about some things, but tell our audience, Lisa, why don't we start with you? A little bit of your backstory, how you got into it, because I love it. And I was a single mom for a long time too. And starting a business and getting involved in that kind of thing and then bringing your child in, it's kind of a special thing that you guys have done.
Okay, wonderful. So I was a single parent for about 8 years and just really looking for something for me.
Mhm.
And I've always wanted to learn how to country western dance. I was born without the actual ability to dance, or that is what I actually thought. I had driven by the studio that I now own and thought, okay, this is perfect. I'm going to go in and take a couple lessons. I had no idea what it consisted of. Walked into the studio, had my very first lesson, and it impacted me so much. I would just describe it as a feeling of joy, of excitement, a little bit of fear. I thought, I really can't do this. And I instantaneously became addicted to it. um, yes, I instantaneously, I began my dancing career. I ultimately danced as an amateur dancer for about 3.5 years before I moved into management and purchasing the studio. What it did for me was it gave me this tremendous, tremendous joy. It gave me my own little hobby that my children, my daughter and my son were not involved in. Um, it gave me this little sense of purpose. It gave me something to look forward to every single day. And because it gave me so much happiness and joy, the thing that stands out the most is I took it home. I became a much better mother. I became so, I brought more joy into my home, which of course trickled down into a much happier household when you're raising, at the time, kids that were about 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lindsay, do you remember these times and mom taking lessons and how she transformed over that time?
I definitely remember it. At first, I thought it was really strange because just a whole new world of like dresses and, coiffed hair and stuff. I'd never really seen her like that. But yeah, so definitely I knew she was becoming a happier person and woman because she was doing it. And I think that that's what kind of rubbed off on me too, is like, I was resistant to doing it, but also when you know someone firsthand that's being transformed because of it, it's hard to not want that yourself.
Well, exactly. And during those teenage years, you were going through some of your own issues in terms of self-love and struggling with that and finding your path through life. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up being drawn into it, even though you were somewhat resistant at first.
Yeah, I was probably like single-handedly the reason she needed the dance lessons. I will admit that.
Yes.
Yeah, I was really overweight and just not happy. I think I was 11 when she started dancing, and I at the time was like 240 pounds. I was like 5'10" already, and so just with school and everything, that's not the easiest thing to be. And I just was really unhappy and hated life. I was really mean to everyone in my life and just didn't really care if I was here or not. So I had lost the weight, and that gave me, I don't want to say confidence, but it gave me enough guts to step into the studio at least. And my confidence came through dancing. And so that's what I think is different, is I had lost weight, but I was still kind of a tomboy, like listened to heavy metal and, everything. Ballroom dancing was just so weird and foreign to me. But my mom kept pushing for it because she obviously felt the transformation. And so I think I mostly just said yes so she would stop like asking me to come try it. But it worked. So I, started taking lessons, and I was scared out of my mind. Like I don't remember actually being so scared to do something. But like her, I fell in love with, I got addicted to it also, but it was the progress and being good at something for me. It was the value. I had never really participated in sports or activities. And so it was the first time in my life that I was ever feeling like I was good at something, like I could accomplish things. and also challenging myself and surrounded by a community of people that supported me. And my mom's always been amazing and been supportive, but I've never really had an outside circle that made me feel so capable. And so that for me was the big thing that got me hooked to it, was the feelings that it gave me that I had never personally felt before. So
I think
I
that's such
like that feeling. I like that
Yeah.
feeling of where our skill set increases on a regular basis. I know, and we tend to enjoy things that we're good at, and as we get better at it,
Yeah.
we enjoy it even more. You were enjoying it because your skill sets were increasing and because you had the support. That is fabulous. Elizabeth, I talked right over you.
Yeah, well, I talked right over you too. But the thing I was going to say is that that's sort of what defines a discipline, and dance is a discipline. And when you commit to something, I have done some ballroom, but just mostly for fun, not anything like I did with the ballet growing up. But when you commit to something, it is hard. It is physically hard. It is mentally hard. You've got to remember choreography. You've got to remember technique. You've got to express yourself in all of these different ways. And when you master something that is that hard, even if other people don't appreciate how hard it is, you don't want to talk to me about not being an athlete, right? But you have the confidence that if you can do that, you can do this or this or this, because that's not nearly so hard. I think you walk in the world differently with that kind of confidence that comes from whatever discipline you choose. So I think that intrinsic value, and self-love is so much easier to come by when you have that kind of commitment to something.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I agree.
So talk to us about your teamwork. I know Rebecca's got a question that I want to get to as relatively quickly, but tell us a little bit about how you've worked as a team, because you have worked together for 20 years before Lindsey went out on her own, but y'all still have that degree of teamwork. And I know, Lindsey, you had COVID earlier, so I think your mom stepped in and helped you some with some of that. So talk to us a little bit about how you interact and how that's evolved.
Okay, so, Lindsey started to work for me. I broke some labor laws. She started to work for me when she was 14 years old. I'm joking, but she literally was my receptionist for quite some time. And as she was taking dance lessons, and she ultimately became a professional teacher. She then became my manager at one of my studios, and I believe she was my manager for 9 years. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. And through that time, we not only learned so much about each other, but I think the thing that stands out the most, the thing that I would share with people, is that you have to define right off the bat, which we did not learn right away. Okay. Are we mother and daughter today at this moment in this meeting? Are we owner and manager at this time? Do we have some difficult things that we need to talk about? And through the years, we really learned how to do that. Even with that being said, it does creep in. You have the mother-daughter, relationship, the little pushing, you accidentally push a button and then you reel it back because you realize, okay, this went a little bit south. And in the beginning, it was definitely working with my actual daughter and helping her learn how to grow in a business world. Believe it or not, though, I am 59 years old, and I learned more from my daughter through this process than I think she could learn from me. I'm in a different generation, and we get a little bit stuck in my generation. I have learned that through many seminars, holding seminars on it, doing training on it. She helped me more with a generational gap than I could even describe. And she brings to the table innovation open-mindedness. She shared with me, you know, you gain employees, you lose employees, you try to evaluate why maybe you lost that employee. And it was through her that I learned maybe losing an employee was my fault because of my inability to recognize how I need to communicate with somebody in their 20s.
Yeah. It's different. It's very different.
It is completely different. And I was a little stubborn along the way. And that would also be my generation. And so I learned so much from her. And she opened my mind to further educating myself on generations and how each one needed to be spoke to, what I needed to be aware of, what was important to them, because our younger generation is not money focused.
No.
My generation is, and we're rewarded by income. The 20 somethings or now the 30 somethings, they are not money focused. And so it was, what is the benefit to these younger people? So all in all, that's what I learned from her. And I am so incredibly proud of her. And we together have figured it out that, hey, we're mom and daughter. And today we're going to be, you know, owner and manager. And now she is an owner also. And so it is just this beautiful evolution of our lives.
Wow. So Lindsey, clearly when there is a generational difference, and then you also have the family issues in working together, how did you get your groove going? How did you how did you get your groove going in terms of working as a team? Because there is a complete different value set, a complete different mindset, a complete different reward system for each other. How did you go about managing up, I guess, and teaching your mom these things and at the same time learning from her?
Well, I never really knew that I was teaching her these things. And I don't think I would agree with saying that I've taught her more than she's taught me, but I appreciate that very much. For me, it was just really her growing me from a young teenager who was really shy and had a lot of social anxieties to being someone that was really assertive and, you know, stood behind what I believed in and always just believed in, you know, serving people to the best and highest of our abilities. And teaching me from an early age to just like interpersonal skills and, you know, to be inquisitive, to care about people, genuinely care about people and their stories and their lives and how we can help them. And that's the number one thing that like I move forward with, that thought process. And I had the experience to work with her for 20 years. And so obviously business is business. There's going to be some ups and there's going to be some downs, recessions. And, you know, when you work with people, things happen because people are people. And I think for me, the thing that made me feel that I was ready to own my own studio was that I had seen and been in action with the ups and downs and how they were handled and carried. That made me feel like, because I can help run a business on a good day. Like I knew I had that in the bag, but when it was not as easy or a little scary, that's the skills that I feel like I was given most, or that I value most. And that came in so handy because I opened my studio basically in October of 2019, 4 months before we closed for the pandemic. Oh. And never in my wildest dreams would I, you know, have predicted this was my first year of business. And I definitely could not have done it without my mom. I still call her pretty much daily. We joke. Sometimes I'll call her like 4 times and she'll jokingly answer the phone like, what? And I'm like, it's me again. I have another question. And so as far as our teamwork goes, I mean, she still is a daily part of basically like my leadership team, like for me personally. And I think, you know, I've had some struggles and some bad days this year with running business in a pandemic, but everything she taught me, I'm here and we're still standing and going strong. So Yeah.
What a beautiful relationship. I mean, not just as mother and daughter, but as colleagues, as folks that appreciate each other's strengths and business savvy from each direction. It's beautiful. Elizabeth, are you going to let me shift
I
gears?
think you should shift gears now. Yes.
Thank you. So I love your story. And we got 3 dancers right here. I'm not a dancer. I have 2 left feet. I don't hear whatever. I'm that person we were talking about earlier, Lisa. So, but I've been kind of pondering this thing around self-expression. We are finding that women as a whole tend to hold back much of who we are. We edit what we say, we edit our behaviors. We're cautious about being included and fitting in and saying the right thing in the boardroom. So we've been really sort of looking at this whole idea of self-expression and why women hold back. And dance, of course, is a form of self-expression. But could you dig a little bit more deeply into that for us, Lisa? Because it's not just the dance that ultimately will be self-expressive, but the evolution of becoming a good dancer allows us to become more self-expressive. Can you address some of that?
Yeah, I absolutely can. It's so fascinating, actually, what life, I believe, has done to women. We're speaking directly to women. Words that we learned along the way, negative words that we learned along the way or heard, and we just take on a little bit naturally what women do. And we start to, I think, shut down a little bit, like our spirit gets shut down. And through dancing, it requires, we're in a fearful state, I think, when we're learning how to dance. But it's such a safe environment, always a safe environment, that when we I use the analogy like we're jumping off a pier into the water. And I encourage my students constantly, okay, so it looks scary. We don't know what's under the water, but let's just go ahead and jump, because I promise you that in the water, you will experience these miraculous things that will happen in your life. So just even watching a student use arm styling. So it may seem simple, but maybe it's a little arm styling. And then we ask them, no, full out, extend your arm, full out, move your body, full out, move your hips, and over exaggerate it and feel every part of your body. And even for a woman who may not have the size 10 figure, again, we look at ourselves as women as magazine covers, and we all have to really get rid of that we embrace every single part of us. And in asking our bodies to do something that is sexy, that is sensual, that is flirtatious, we use those terms with our students, and they don't necessarily have it right away, but they slowly step into it because we start to change their belief system, which is a hard task to do for all of us. Change their belief system, that we ask them to look in the mirror and dance to that person who's in the mirror as if that is the audience. Extend your arm fully, even though that may make you feel uncomfortable, it finishes the dance. And if you don't do it, your dance isn't actually finished. There's a portion of it missing. And so we're not tricking people, but there's a reason they can do it then. It's finishing the dance. And we ask them to over exaggerate, like their eyes and looking, and pointing at somebody in the audience. And slowly but surely, you change somebody's belief system about themselves. You help them believe that I'm a size 14. I am good with that today. I am good with that today. I can dance in a body of a size 14. I can walk into a room, and because of the confidence I have, I don't think about my weight, where another time maybe I would have, years and years ago. So every person, even the gentlemen, we have a lot of gentlemen students, men in couples, and we have single men in here who are actually learning the exact same thing as we are. They want to feel a sense of sophistication. They want that. And so you realize that as human beings, we all are desiring a sense of confidence and self-expression.
Mm-hmm.
So for us ladies, learning how to dance slowly but surely, jump, and just allowing ourselves to jump off the end of the pier with the guarantee that there's safety here. The self-expression, it just comes out of us. We give them permission to be exactly who they dream and know that they are. Whatever, that little thing inside of us ultimately comes out on the dance floor.
Wow.
It's so true. And you can see it happen.
Yes.
Because I think this is a universal thing for all kinds of dance. There's a difference between someone just holding their arm out and someone holding their arm out. Like
Yep.
the whole body is engaged, and you can see the transformation, and you're like, all right, there you are. There's the person.
Yeah.
And the risk taking. Like we used to tell people, when you're stepping up on your toe, go over too far, because you can't find the place you're supposed to be unless you pass it by. Like if you never get there, you'll never feel it. But if you go over, then you can find it again. So I think that when you see them take that risk and embrace it, and then arms are, there you are. I mean, there's such a difference in the presentation, and then you walk through the world that way. And Lindsey, I think you experienced, I think you both did, but with your transformation with weight loss and with embracing and being shy and coming out of all that, talk to us a little bit about that kind of transformation of confidence and self-expression, and how do you apply it throughout your life?
And I would say when I was younger, that was the transformation to me, was building confidence with, my new body that I had, and just also as a teenager. So just I basically became a woman through dancing. But I will say, kind of going back to the boardroom topic that was mentioned, is when I started managing, and I had 2 children, so I wasn't dancing personally. I was in the studio every day training staff to dance and stuff. But for me, I had kind of stopped that and focused on being, a leader and more the business side of things. And I think that when we do that and we don't have that outlet for ourselves, we sit a little bit too much in our masculine qualities, because I'm a leader, right? I direct people all day long. I don't tell people what to do, but there's that side of you that's like super task oriented and somewhat robotic. And then I'll start feeling not myself, and then I go, okay, I'm not in touch with my feminine qualities anymore, which is the artistic, creative, beautiful, amazing side that all of us women have. And then I'll just go to my studio on a Saturday, and I won't even turn the lights on. I'll turn some amazing music on, and I'll just dance for myself, by myself, for an hour and a half. And like I immediately feel more balanced and more like one with myself, because I'm kind of closing the gap to those 2 sides. And I think it's really crucial for people, that do have like leadership roles and have a lot of, it's crucial for everyone, but have more stress and function in those daily tasks. You have to have the kind of yin to the yang there, and do something that's creative and something that's just for you as a woman, and working on that side of things too. So that's kind of what I learned in my adult life with dancing personally. So
you articulated that so beautifully. You wanted me to, I was going to cry. Because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a single mom, I'm now, of course, a grandma, but those masculine traits of quick decisions, get things done, move forward. Those are beautiful traits. Those are beautiful traits, and we do possess them as women. But when it is 90%, 100% of how we are expressing ourselves, we lose those beautiful feminine attributes that God gave us, right? And you recognized it. You recognized it, and dance allows you to bring it back. You're still going to make great decisions. You're still going to be a great leader and all of those things, but you want to engage the yin and the yang, the creative and the executor, right? You want all of those things. So that was so beautifully articulated. I think I'm going to have to learn to dance, Elizabeth.
I think you do. It is so liberating in so many ways. Well, and feeling physically strong, it probably in anything, but since dance is what we do, it's the way we relate. But I think feeling physically strong and in touch with your body in that way also makes you walk a little taller and feel a little more confident. And you're not feeling, for me, I feel more in control of everything if I'm in control of my strength and my health. And when I'm on that right path, everything is better. So I think finding your thing, clearly we all think dance is our thing. But finding whatever your thing is, that's why I so encouraged all of my kids to find their thing. And they all have very different ones. But I think it's such a critical way. It's your outlet. It's your creativity. It's your strength. It's your gift. It's whatever it is that you can apply throughout your life so that you can find that balance. I think, I think it's just really, really, you can't overstate it, how important that is.
Right. And I'll just add to this really quick. I shared this with you, Elizabeth, the first time we spoke. Learning how to dance. I own this business in this industry for one reason, and that is learning how to dance has these profound gifts that you cannot even describe to somebody. I could stand on a mountaintop and scream to the world what they are, but there's no point, because unless you are actually slowly but surely experiencing these little tiny gifts that come to us through dancing and any kind of dancing. But every student who walks in our doors, I 100% believe they arrived at our door at the exact moment in life that they need to be there. It gives me goosebumps to think about that. And for an example, I have a student whose husband unfortunately has Alzheimer's, and she also was just finding herself very lost and so consumed in this. And she just decided, somebody said, go take dance lessons. And she came in, and not that one of her goals was to lose weight. It actually wasn't. However, though, she takes about 5 to 8 lessons a week, and it gives her this hour and a half time that she's not at home with her husband watching that ugly process. It's all about her in here. It's her family. It's her community. It's a place she goes where everybody knows her name. And through this journey, she has naturally lost weight. And so she has become just this little sexy little thing. She's vibrant. We talk to her when she comes in about how everything is at home. And she'll, gives her an opportunity to express how things are at home. A lot of times caregivers aren't actually part of the journey. And right. So, but every single student who walks in these doors, whether it's our little wedding couples to somebody like me, we all show up at the right moment in time for a reason to receive these beautiful gifts that dancing gives us. And I speak for both my daughter and myself, it is what motivates us every single day that we actually get to do this for a living.
This is amazing.
I love
So
it.
you are, it's purpose driven. This isn't just teaching someone to dance and creating a sense of community, like you experienced, Lindsay, where you were embraced and full. But there really is for both of you a mission, a purpose, something bigger that is happening by simply offering some dance lessons.
Yes, it's so much bigger than we are. Yeah. Mhm.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I hate to do this, but we're going to have to wrap up.
Okay.
I'm just now getting into this conversation. This is so exciting. But if someone wanted to learn more about Fred Astaire, about either of you, what's the best way for someone to reach out to you?
So anybody throughout the country can go to fredastaire.com. There are approximately 190 studios in the country. So no matter where anybody's located, they can find a studio closest to them. We all teach exactly the same because we are a franchise. So every studio follows all the franchise guidelines, the same syllabuses. So they can reach out to any studio. And if anybody wanted to contact Lindsay and I, they can do it through either our emails or contacting our studios directly. And Lindsay's studio is in Gilbert, Arizona, and my studio is in Chandler, Arizona.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Lindsay, do you have anything you want to wrap up with?
I just wanted to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to kind of spread the word, essentially, because, you know, like my mom said, it's something that people just think, oh, dance lessons, they're going to learn to dance. But we know that the secret is that they get so much more, which we've talked about today. So any opportunity for us to speak to that, especially to women, it's a great thing. So thank you both very much for giving us that outlet.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both for coming on and sharing that, because you can tell how passionate you are about it. You can tell how much it's impacted your life and that you're doing it for a reason larger than yourself. So I love speaking to people who are doing what they're meant to do, which it's clear both of you are. So thank you for coming on. We loved having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you think is the #1 challenge for franchisors? You got it, getting the right fit franchisee. And as you know, poor fit franchisees are often poor performers. Poor fit franchisees cost more to train and support. Poor fit franchisees are rarely satisfied or compliant, which can lead to validation issues. Not a good place to be. But now there is a solution. Zoracle Profile's scientific spot-on match program. Working with top broker groups in franchising, Zoracle has created a platform that scientifically matches the broker's candidate to the right fit franchise brand. Spot On Match predicts the compatibility, performance, and viability of a prospective franchisee. Spot On Match gives the franchise development team a data-driven and scientific approach to selling franchises. This is how it works. Zoracle works with each franchisor to establish their top performer blueprint. This research assesses current franchisees to determine the key psychographic indicators that separate high performers from mid to low performing franchisees. The final result of the research is the brand's Eclipse report, which compares prospective franchisees to a franchise system's high performers. Finally, brokers are running a spot-on profile on each of their franchise prospects. These profiles are then scientifically bumped up against the franchisor's high performer algorithms, and the match process begins. Dashboards are built for the franchisor and the broker to make sure the process is smooth and trackable. Right Fit matches instantly. Find out how you can be a spot-on match member. Save time. Stop guessing. Start matching. Call Zoracle Profiles.
Welcome to Women in the Know, where we discuss everything from politics and policy to relationships and marketing. We take the things we have learned through our life experience and our interviews and share them with you so that hopefully we can all come away knowing a little something that we didn't know yesterday. Today, we are going to talk about a comment that Lindsey Bianco from Fred Astaire Dance Studios made in our interview, which was the yin and the yang, the male and the female parts of herself. And when she feels like she's too far out of the creative and away from the dance and is in all leadership and task driven and, or, purpose, getting all these things done, she loses out some of the feminine parts and has to reconnect with that. So what was your takeaway from that? Because I thought it was a pretty interesting way of looking at it.
She articulated it so beautifully, so much so it brought up emotion for me. I wanted to cry. I'm like, how many of us as women, especially business owners, executives, where we're making hard decisions every day, leading a team and bringing forth that those masculine traits of making fast decisions and looking at numbers and putting ducks in a row, then we kind of get out of touch. The way she described it is she actually felt out of touch with the real who she is, which is the feminine. And, we have both sides of us. We have the feminine side and the masculine side, and each of those talents are to be used in particular ways. But the world really rewards, especially in business, more the masculine traits, the problem solver, the getter-doner kind of things, not that a more relational or creative feminine side. So I thought she hit the nail on the head by talking about the importance of getting back to who we really are as women. And she uses dance to remind herself of that she has this feminine side of her where her gifting lies, and dance reminds her of it and centers her and allows her to go right back to running her business.
I think you're right. And I think it's an interesting thing when you say she felt like she lost touch with her whole self.
Yeah.
And I think the best leaders are the ones who have that kind of balance. And I think that's like, for her, when you think of self-care, you might think of putting on a facial mask or doing your nails or whatever, but that's her self-care. And the reason I know that is because it was mine. She talked about going to a studio all by herself on a Saturday and just dancing, and that's reconnecting with herself. And I used to do the same thing. If I didn't have a class, the stress level I would have, I've been walking now to do the same thing. That connection with yourself is self-care. That is taking care of your insides so that when you present yourself to the world on the outside, you are fully yourself. And I think that sometimes that word gets overused and people think it means superficial things, but it doesn't. It means reconnecting with the parts of you that you forget to take care of, which may be the creative side, or maybe you've gotten too far into that and you're not doing the task oriented side that you need to take care of. So I think that is what that means to me, is taking care of those parts of yourself that make you whole.
Yeah, excellent point. It is getting back in touch with all of us, because we can build a side of our muscle through running businesses or whatever we're doing and lose the other side of us. So it's bringing it back, and it is a form of self-care and just being conscious of it and aware of it, that we are women, right? And with that comes certain gifts.
And don't you think your whole theme of the year is to try to have more fun?
Yes.
This is a way of caring for a side of yourself that you have neglected.
Yeah.
I mean, this kind of harkens back to what she's saying in a different way, is finding whatever it is that's going to make you have fun and feel lighter and feel less focused on just working all the time, to make yourself more whole and well-rounded and more of who you are.
Okay, sign me up, girl. Sign me up for dance classes.
You can choose dance, you can choose something else, but whatever it is, you got to have fun doing it, right?
I'm going to have fun doing it. I promise you.
I think you would love it. I think it would be so much fun.
I think so too. There we go. Sign me up for fun. F-U-N and lots of it.
You heard it here first, everyone.
That's right.
All righty. Well, on that note, I think we can wrap it up. Encourage everyone to find the thing that makes them feel whole and do more of it. We will be back next time with more Women in the Know. The Franchise Woman is a bi-monthly digital magazine that empowers women as they navigate the franchising industry by providing relevant news, tools, advice, and inspiration. We are a resource for women who are seeking to own their own businesses, improve their existing businesses, find creative solutions, and take advantage of franchise opportunities. We feature women in the business who best exemplify our ideals and have something to teach our readers. In addition to our exclusive articles relating to the female entrepreneur, we also feature brands that are geared for women. Women have become the fastest growing sector in business ownership and have become a powerful, influenceable force fueling the economy. The Franchise Woman will give you the news that is relevant to you to help you navigate the path of successful franchise ownership. By women, for women, and about women. We are the Franchise Woman. Join us today at www.thefranchisewoman.com.
Welcome to Ask Beck and Liz, where no topic is off limits. We want to answer your questions about business, life, and everything in between. Send your questions to ask@beckandliz.com. That's ask@beckandliz.com. So our question today, Elizabeth, is regarding some conversation we had with Lisa and Lindsey from Fred Astaire Studios about self-expression. And I guess my curiosity is, what prevents us as women from fully expressing who we are? I know personally, I edit myself. I hold back my opinion. I hold back my bodacious laugh. I make sure not to interject in certain situations. What causes us to hold back and not fully express all that we are?
That is a big question. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking about it. And my friend Allison and I talk about those women who are the women who don't hold back enough or are told we don't hold back enough. I have evolved more into that than I used to be one who held everything back. Therefore, my internal dialogue is constantly running. And I'll tell a story and I'll say, well, and I said this and I thought that. And my husband's like, did you really say that? I'm like, no, I didn't really say that. Of course I didn't say that. So he's like, well, how am I supposed to know what you really said and what was your internal dialogue? And so I'm sitting here trying to figure out why is that we do, because clearly I still hold some of that back. But I think it's because when you put yourself all out there, you're described as a woman who's aggressive or bitchy, or even if it's not negative, but if you are all out, then you're described in negative ways. And I don't think it's appreciated in a lot of situations where you're around mostly men. And so I think that is an interesting thing to try to unravel, because I don't actually completely know the answer. Do you?
No, that's why I asked you, silly goose. But I do think it is traditionally considered more feminine to be demure and to be more soft and quiet, and not to interject our opinions. And even if we do interject our opinions, it's done in a very soft way. Let's just say that. But I think, so yeah, I think there's a gender thing with it. And then I think there's the whole, I want to be accepted, I want to be loved, I want to be approved of. And if I state my opinion, or I fully extend my arms and I self-express, or whatever it is, that it'll be too much, right? Too much. And once you're in that too much category, you could be excluded from certain groups or certain situations. So I think at the core, it's almost human nature. It's a survival instinct almost, is you don't want to be excluded, right? You don't want to be rejected, especially from a group. So we do hold back a little bit. So we get accepted, we get approved of, we get loved, we don't get rejected. So I think some of it's a survival instinct, and some of it is just programming as women that we shouldn't be too much, and we shouldn't speak up too often or too loudly, or with too much vim and vigor. So
Mhm.
I thought it was cool though that there's other ways to self-express besides just the words.
Absolutely. Physical, you know, the dance as a method of self-expression is very freeing and very liberating. And I think that's why people who do it love it so much, because there is no too much. You know,
Mhm.
there's not enough more often than there's too much when it comes to dance. And I was also thinking while you were talking too, when I was dating between my husbands, which sounds so funny to say, um, of women being afraid to say exactly what they want. And when I was dating that time, you know, when you're younger, it's a little different. But when I was dating that time, I didn't have time. I had 3 little kids. I didn't want to waste time. And so I began asking people, you know, if they would check off something on the online profile, don't drink at all. I would ask, is that because you have a problem? Because for me, that wasn't something that I wanted to experience. And so instead of just sort of hedging around that question, I would just ask directly. And I don't think it was a popular thing, but I was to an age and a level of self-respect that I had been through a lot, and I knew what I didn't want to go through. And I became more empowered to just say, my time is so valuable to me right now because I have all these responsibilities with work and kids, that I'm okay with asking that question now.
Right.
You know, and I was on my mid to late 30s during that time. And I didn't do it right off the bat, but the more I dated, the more I was like, I'm not wasting time on people who I know I'm not going to be compatible with. And
Yeah.
that's okay. And I think that applies to every relationship you have, whether it's a job or a coworker or a boss or an employee. There are certain deal breakers we all have in every relationship that we have. And are we okay expressing those? You know, and when do you,
Yeah.
there's the ages of life, do you ever get okay with completely just saying exactly what you want?
Ooh, does that mean I have to tell somebody not to wear white tennis shoes to a date?
Or if that's a deal breaker, he can wear the tennis shoes. You just don't have to date him.
There you go. I don't know. Just
Depends
something.
on how amenable he is to your opinions. If he doesn't care what shoes he wears and you present him with a new pair of shoes and say, hey, I like these a lot better, and he's like, great,
All right.
not
No,
a problem then.
thank you.
He's going to get a little irritated with that, then there's your answer.
Very funny. But you're better at self-expression than I am, which makes me wonder. Some of it, of course, it could be the age difference, the generational difference, and what I was taught was okay for women,
Mm-hmm.
and what you were taught. Also, a cultural difference, being born and raised in Switzerland, you born and raised in the U.S. of A. So it's kind of interesting to see if this self-expression issue, how broad it is. You know, is it in a boardroom? Is it with our spouses? Is it with our friends? But clearly, it is something we're all learning to get better at.
Yeah. And you know, there's a reason you can't do it respectfully and still state what you want or what you expect. So I think it is an interesting question. What plays into that?
Yeah, maybe we
Part of
put
it is your personality that you're born with.
personality.
Some
Yeah.
of it is external, you know, nature versus nurture. How much is nurture?
And self-confidence. So I say we put it out to our audience. What do you think has women hold back fully expressing all they are?
And how do you overcome it? I think that's
a good point. And how do you overcome it?
Yeah. Or do you want to?
Yeah.
So many questions. We need
So
to
many questions.
help us out.
Not enough time. So thank you everyone for joining us today, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. This is Beck and Liz signing off and wishing you another purpose-filled and profitable week.